I say we'll get started, and by the time more people join, we'll kind of be into the nitty-gritty of the webinar. So first off, thank you everybody for joining us. I think we're in for a great treat. We got a couple pioneers and amazing people in the dental space here with us. Privileged to have them. But welcome to today's webinar, Origin One Dental. When production counts, versatility matters. So really looking forward to this. We thank you again for joining us today. I'm Aaron Roux. I'm the dental lead specialist for GoEngineer. We also have, Richard, if you want to go to the next slide, we also have Richard Cromwell, who's our senior application engineer based out of one of our Michigan locations. He has a lot of our hardware there and knows a lot ins and outs of our systems and will be co-presenting with us. We also have Rayad Maksud, our representative from our location up in Canada. So we have some great Canadian representation there. And then we have Trey Chambers. Trey is owner of Express Dental Laboratory in Norman, Oklahoma. Trey's been in the forefront of digital dental technology for many years. So later on in this webinar, we will hear directly from Trey about his laboratory's experiences with the Origin One Dental system. As you can see behind him, he has a couple systems there. Learn about the contributing factors that Trey and his team considered when looking at the Origin One Dental printer, and really how it's transformed and his laboratory with his workflows and his production needs. We also have Ira Rossenau, president of Keystone Industries. Ira, thank you for joining. Ira joined Keystone Industries back in 2015 as the president of the company's dental division, overseeing all facets of Keystone's comprehensive manufacturing of dental, medical devices, and pharmaceuticals, including the development and the commercialization of its digital dental materials, such as the lineup of the KeyPrint line of 3D printing resins, which we'll talk deeper about today. He also serves as the general counsel to all of Keystone's global business units. And prior to joining Keystone, Mr. Rossenau was a commercial attorney in Philadelphia, focused on business litigation, M&As, and real estate practice areas. So really, with Ira, we'll hear from Ira. He'll speak about Keystone Industries in general, the development of the very popular KeyPrint line of 3D printing resins, as well as his experience and Keystone's experience with the Origin One Dental printer and the new applications and the materials that are now validated. We're super excited to have additional KeyPrint resins for the Origin One, and we'll kind of lead it to you to have some talking points behind that as well. So just a few housekeeping items. This webinar is approved for NBC credit. So if you are a CDT and you did not provide your CDT number in the registration when you registered, please put that. You could probably just put it in the question where you can enter questions. Just put your full name with your CDT number, because I then have to, at the end of this, I'll have all the CDT numbers. I'll provide that to the NBC. I want to have you be able to get that well-earned CE credit. We do have, like I shared, a question function. So this is a very open webinar, so feel free to put any questions you have in there. We may answer them live. We may wait to the end, depending on the question. So feel free, if you have a question, pop it in there. And without any further ado, I will pass it over to my colleague, Rayad.
Thanks, Aaron. So I kind of want to just introduce myself. Rayad Maksud. I'm the AM account manager here in Canada, based out of our Toronto, Ontario office. So I'll give a brief introduction to GoEngineer for those of you who are not familiar with the company. We're one of the largest SolidWorks providers, a Stratasys Diamond partner, and our goal is really to be the #1 technical resource worldwide. Can we go to the next slide here? So we achieved that by representing some of the best names in polymer and metal AM, such as Stratasys, Exact Metal, Velo 3D. We also carry 3D scanners, post-processing equipment as well. And our commitment to our customers is really our greatest priority. We want to share our 35 plus years of experience, and that can be through our online and over the phone support, customer portals, online community, training sessions, or YouTube channel. So, sorry, if you want to go to the next slide there. So GoEngineer is really coast to coast across Canada and the US. We have over 40 offices, 125 certified technicians, and for dental labs where production is your number one priority, we can be your edge against your competition. We want to leverage all of our resources to support our customers, and that's something our dental team takes very seriously because our customer successes are truly our successes. So if you're in Canada, feel free to reach out to me about anything dental AM related. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And with that, I'll let Richard take over.
Hey everybody, Richard Cromwell here, GoEngineer applications engineer in the Auburn Hills region of Michigan. And I'd like to introduce you to the system that we're going to be talking about today. It's the Origin One Dental, and I'll show you this short little video. So let's first look at this through the view of what problem statement and value propositions we're trying to approach with the Origin One Dental system. So the market problems that we look at today, and a lot of the systems that are out there typically aren't built with the same quality materials and components that you'll find in a Stratasys machine. Stratasys has been leading the additive manufacturing industry in the quality of industrial 3D printers for over 30 years, and this continues with the Origin One Dental machine. We provide very consistent and accurate printing, and the goal is to have a cost effectiveness not only with the machine, but with the cost per part in the dental models that are produced. So what problems can the Origin One Dental help to solve? So due to workflows and due to growth in digital workflows, labs are looking for a more cost-effective solution, and the Origin One Dental has quick print times paired with economical resins, resulting in low cost per part. Inexpensive DLP solutions produce wood grain surface finish, which is like stepping in the layering. Origin One Dental has a proprietary separation process that we'll talk about a little bit later that results in a very smooth surface finish. Inconsistent quality and accuracy with existing solutions. We have tightly controlled software which enables print processes to ensure high degrees of accuracy and part-to-print consistency. The software technology is static on a lot of the systems that are out there. There might be cloud-connected printers allow for software updates that we have today, and that enables print performance improvements as you own the printer. Low-cost hardware that is unreliable but not built for high-volume usage. Origin One Dental is built for industrial production with a footprint that maximizes the space.
And Richard, if you could just stay on this slide real quick. So these benefits that we kind of just went through, Trey is going to speak to these in more more detail and from a higher level of how these benefits and things are working through his lab. So really looking forward to hearing that from Trey.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so here's what the machine looks like, and you can also see it behind Trey back there. A couple of them. The technology that we're using is a variation on digital light processing that Stratasys refers to as programmable photopolymerization. You can see the build volume here is 7.5 by 4.25 by 14.5 inches. It's a relatively small machine compared to a lot of the other Stratasys machines that are on the market. You can get down to a layer thickness of approximately 25 microns. And one of the nice things about this system too is that it runs on standard 110 or 220 power, nothing fancy. And I want to show you right now the separation mechanism. So the idea is that the Origin One uses a pneumatic separation mechanism. You can see that little baffle that lifted up, and that provides the ability to separate the printed model from the build sheet. And in a lot of printers, that can be that is an area where it can lead to failed print if it's not handled properly. And so that is really one of the big benefits to the Origin One system. So turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so this is where we're going to pass it over to Ira. So again, thank you, Ira, for your support here, and really excited to have you chime in on this part of the webinar. So, we'd love to just hear from you, share a little bit about Keystone Industries, your leading edge of your Keyprint 3D line of 3D resins, as well as how those resins have been integrated with the Origin One and your experiences with those.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me today, Aaron, and the whole team, including at Stratasys, and I'm very pleased to be here and to be talking about the partnership. We've been working with the Origin One system for quite a while. Even through the development of the Origin One's technology, as at the same time we were developing some of our Keyprint resins. So we've been in close touch with this printer and the folks behind it for a long period of time. Hi, I'm Ira. I run the dental business here at Keystone. Keystone is a manufacturing business focused primarily on two verticals, although we're in some other spaces. One is the dental space, which I'm the president of that group. And the other vertical is cosmetic nail coatings, particularly reactive nail coatings, dip powders, gel manicures. And the kind of secret between the two and why they work together is really polymer technology. While we're competent at a lot of different scientific methodologies and applications and materials, polymer chemistry is really at the very heart of what we do. And so when I got here in 2015 and started looking at the landscape for the business, both Keystone's business and the dental industry, and starting to understand it, because I came from not a dental world or a 3D printing world, so I had a lot to learn, and I had a lot of smart people helping me along the way. We kind of, as a company, came to realize we had a lot of the pieces here in place to be an early adopter in the US as a manufacturer and can really lead in the space in the dental industry, because we had 25 years of making photopolymers, nail gel. It's basically the same scientific technology. We are a dental company with global scope and reach, and all the connections and relationships you would need to try and figure out how to get there. And we had 13485 ISO medical device manufacturing certifications, and we spent a lot of time on compliance and doing things the right way and trying to put out good products that are safe and effective, and compliance and regulatory standards, really big part of that. So we had a lot of these pieces in place early, and we were like, I think we got something to play with here. And so we started to focus on how to do this. We had some outside partners helping us. We had some really good employees inside of Keystone helping us drive product development, regulatory clearance, help us with strategy, help us with branding. And then really some of the most fun part of doing Keyprint, because strategically, as a material company, for us to have our own printer or to kind of OEM, bring on our own private label printer, it's probably something we would not be great at. You know, we're really good with materials. I don't think we'd be really fantastic at printers. And so for us, we took a harder strategic approach, which was to try and work with as many printing systems as possible to validate materials and workflows and work together. You really have to work together. These resins and printers and cure boxes are a workflow. They're medical devices. They have to work hand in glove to get to the right results. And so it was really important to develop good outside relationships with these printer partners that drive value for both of us. Co-promotion, helping share in education. There's all sorts of ways the relationships deepen. And for me, the most fun has been trying to figure out how to sort of make these relationships across many different printer partners. We don't work just with Stratasys, but to make it work with all these partners, and working with the team at Stratasys and the team at Origin before Stratasys acquired them has been very rewarding right from the beginning. As I mentioned, I think the first time I saw an Origin One was probably September of 2017, when we paid a visit to their facility in San Francisco, and it was very much a working facility with, here's a conference room for us to sit in, but it was a lab. They were building and developing the printer. And very early on, even before we released our first Keyprint resins in 2018, we were working to try and help us develop our materials amongst the printers on the Origin, and also helping give feedback to Origin on what we were seeing and how things were developing. And it was a very good, beneficial relationship. Origin, through the pandemic and then through an acquisition, things slowed down on them getting to the market for a variety of reasons. We're very excited that over the last year, the Origin One is now out on the market, because we've found it to be a very effective, reliable, high throughput production printer from the day we saw it to the day it's actually now out there and being available to folks. And we've worked hard with the folks at Stratasys to make sure we're undertaking the difficult validation procedure to make sure our medical device resins are working the right way they need to work within this printing system, to offer a really good solution to dental labs out there who are looking for an efficient workflow that may be different from what they've seen before.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we'll segue into the next slide, Ira. So these are the resins now that Keystone has partnered and validated with Stratasys, right? We have everything from custom trays all the way to an all-on-X try-in, different splint materials. So I don't know if you want to take a moment just to, we don't have to talk about each one, but just, a general overview of your printable resins, maybe what makes them a little bit more unique in the marketplace, and how that fits in with the Origin One.
Sure. It's a really good question. And first of all, there's good resin companies out there other than Keystone. And every year another generation of material comes out that's pretty interesting, and it raises the bar for everyone. And what it really does is it democratizes it for the end users. You're getting to see good resins float to the top in different applications, and they're coming from plenty of different companies, not just Keystone. However, we're very glad to be one of those leading in the space. I think a lot of it's putting in time and attention to chemistry, and putting a lot of time and attention into the compliant, compatibility workflow validation to make sure that we're opening up our resins to a wide swath of opportunities in the dental space, from high volume labs to mid-sized labs to small size labs to clinicians who are printing. And so having a good array of materials and a good array of workflows that provides opportunity allows us to bring really good materials to the market. The other thing it also allows us to do is to really kind of partner well and do some interesting education around the materials, because one thing I think we've learned as a company, and I've certainly have learned, is the education is a really important part in being able to move these materials. You have to show people not only how to work with them and how it helps replace their existing analog practices in a more efficient way, and I'm sure Trey's going to talk all about that in a better way than I ever could. But to also say there's an array of options for how you monetize this. You can be printing other things. People, when I hear people are only printing models, I just kind of go, geez, you know, it's a cost center. It's an important cost center. Don't get me wrong, it's an important cost center, but it's a cost center. You're driving your cost for either the aligner or the restoration down through this cost center. Dentures, splints, night guards, teeth, profit centers. You could literally be printing things that are very, very profitable for your business, and figuring out how to balance those things, dentists and labs, is really important. So being able to offer an array of materials that covers an array of applications, that works in an array of workflows, has really allowed us to be successful and allow us to do a lot of education around these applications. So that has allowed us to develop materials that are good, that are reliable, that work reliably in multiple printing systems, and that ultimately allows our brand to get some stick. Like, people like it. They will try materials from us because they know it's good, and they'll adopt the ones that really work for them. So, you know, our newest resin, which is Key Denture Tri-In, is a tremendous resin. It's a three shades of Tri-In material. Whether you're printing monolithic, whether you're just trying to do a crown, whatever it may be, it is a really outstanding material. It's very, very shade true to each of the three shades, A1, B1, and BL4. Very polishable, easy to work with. It is priced, you know, at a place where, as a cost center, as a Tri-In usually is, it's driving the cost down, and it allows you to pass, in a creative way, pass that all along to the patient through the final denture that may be applied. The splint materials are clearly, you know, the product that we led a charge with. They were developed specifically to achieve some gaps that were in the market. We took the time and energy to and money to test them externally, to globally have them cleared at a Class 2 level. One of the first 510Ks issued in the dental space was to Keystone Soft, and we're very, very proud of that work. And it allows us to then go into a Keystone Hard and into the next level of products when you hit a home run with something early. And it's a very profitable device. I wear mine at night. It's comfortable to wear Keystone Soft. It flexes, it holds the undercuts. And the beauty of it is, you know, what I love about the product, and I talk about it a lot and I speak about it a lot, particularly Keystone Soft, is everybody wins with this product, right? Keystone wins, we create a really good product, and it's profitable to Keystone. Our distribution partners like it. They are moving product, and they're making good money. The labs are making money. A bottle of Keystone Soft roughly will throw off 85, 90 splints, depending on your waste factor and your build strategies and everything else. That's roughly somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 of profit per bottle to a lab, depending on what their selling price is to the doc, right? That's a very profitable outlet for a lab. For doctors, it's also very profitable, particularly if they, for some reason, figure they don't need a lab partner to figure out how to do it. Now they're really picking up some profit. And the patients get a really great device that if they lose it, it's really easy to print. You know, I wear mine, right? So the other day, like a lot of people do, I threw it onto my nightstand. I don't know what my cat did with it. It's gone.
Right.
I hope you had a good time with it. But I came to the office and I called back to our 3D lab and I said, can you guys just print me another file? Okay, so a lost or a broken splint with all these digital technologies, whether it's a denture or whatever it might be, it's a phone call and a boop and a reprint, and suddenly you have the device again. You're not back from square one having to do it. So when you can have a great device and then you can pair it with a high throughput printer, you know, if you have the night guard and splint business, and an Origin One can print, you know, 12, 14 splints in one production run and do it in about 2 hours, and you have that business regularly, you are looking at several $100,000 of profit a year just from adopting that workflow. So like that's one that we end up talking a lot about, and then we get very excited about. Our surgical guide material is really great, very strong, very durable, autoclavable. So, I mean, I can go on and on about the materials. I think the most important thing I would want to say about it is that our approach to development and then our approach to regulatory clearance and validations in multiple printing systems is very rigorous. Keystone Soft is, without a doubt, the most tested product Keystone Industries has ever put out in any market in any way, shape, or form. There's probably 250 passing cytotoxicity and other biocompatibility checks in our 40 different workflows and our cure boxes we work with. That's very hard, it's very difficult, and we're very proud that we can add that value to the end users, that they know if we put in the time and effort for them, they can adopt it easily and know that it's safe and compliant, and their patient and their doctors are going to get something that's very reliable and, depending on the application, very profitable. So that's a little bit about the background of how we've developed the materials and why this lineup has come out. And then we have, obviously, next year some really interesting materials coming out as well.
Yeah, really looking forward to that for next year. But, you know, I'm super excited to have 9 more materials validated for the Origin One, right? So kudos to Keystone and Stratasys working hard on that. I love your points of, you know, education. It's not just resin in a bottle, right? Keystone and us at GoEngineer and Stratasys, we're behind the end user to make sure that they understand how to use the material and what it can do for their lab. Also profit centers, all great points. I do have 2 questions, Ira. Can you just define real quick a try-in? Because some people may have different thoughts on how long is that. If you do an all-on X or a denture, right? Is it in the mouth, out, patient leaves? Can you just define a little bit about, you know, the try-in?
Sure. First thing I'll say is the best thing to do is make sure you're in good contact with the manufacturer about the scope of the clearance of the usage. So key denture try-in is cleared as a class 1 material application. And what that basically means is you can use it as a temporary, you know, put it in, check it out, as a temporary kind of provisional take it home. It's not really cleared for that as an application. It does have excellent properties. We are in the process of looking, should we clear it for a higher, you know, almost like a provisional wear home. The current clearance is a class 1.
Okay,
I don't know if it helps answer it or if less clear.
No, that's exactly what I was looking for. And then the second question real quick is Keysplint Soft Clear. I saw recently you posted on your LinkedIn page. So that is now a product that can then, you know, we have validated it for the Origin One. So that is available for other systems such as the Origin One now.
Correct. So it was for a period of time exclusive to Carbon. The exclusivity period has ended, and we wanted to time it with the release of our Keysplint Hard Clear. So both products are now available to the industry and are being validated across our printer platforms and our printer partners. So yes, a user of the Origin who likes a clear splint, whether it's hard or whether it's got some flex to it, they have 2 choices from Keystone. If people like the tinted, I like the tinted personally. I think mouth guards get pretty gross. I like the tinted one, but I don't have to choose, right? And neither do you. If you like tinted, you can have it both in a hard or a clear Keystone. If you want it clear, again, and now it's democratized across our partner platforms.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
If you want to move to the next slide, Richard.
You bet. So this was, we'll talk a little bit about the advantages of the machine over some of the other competition that are out there. This shows the separation mechanism and how the system essentially works. DLP is based on vat photopolymerization. Our system utilizes a pneumatic separation mechanism, which is unique to the Origin One. Our print processes are totally configurable. You have control over all the parameters that you need to be able to validate materials on your own. And also, we have fast print speeds. So the times that we can get out of these machines are significantly faster than what we see elsewhere on the market. And I'll show you briefly. If we look at the speed and the number of parts that the Origin One can create in when compared to some of its competitors, you can see that the print time is significantly less, as well as in some instances, the post-processing time. And with that, I'm going to discuss very quickly, we'll just go through these slides and talk about some build trays and estimated print times that would be possible on the Origin One Dental. Here we have a collection of indirect bonding trays. This is printed in Key Ortho IDT. We have up to 22 parts being printed in 25 minutes, which allows you to generate up to 465 parts per day. Here we have some gingiva masks. The material is key mask. We have up to 48 parts in 27 minutes, up to 951 parts per day. We have some custom trays. The material is key tray. We have up to 5 parts in 116 minutes with up to 29 parts per day. RPD, print to cast. The material is key cast with up to 8 parts in 37 minutes, up to 121 parts per day.
And Richard, if we could just stay here, I did have one question for Ira on the castable, the key cast. Sure. So historically, many of these resins, just due to their makeup, I'm not a chemist, so I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but you know, they've been primarily indicated for RPDs for one reason or another. Some of them, you know, have issues with casting alloys or pressing lithium disilicates. Can you also use the key cast for those applications as well?
You can. So it's been worked on and tested, whether it's, you know, cobalt or other metals that are regularly used either for crowns or for, you know, multi-unit prosthetics or cast partial metals. It also does press well as a ceramic press material. Burnout is clean, whether you put it in the oven at a max temp or you put it in and let it ramp. Yep. Performance without any sort of expansion of the resin into the surrounding vesting material. So you get a really good clean product from it. We've had really no complaints about how it's working, as designed for what would traditionally be a wax up.
The value proposition in the end for the Origin One Dental is that we have high throughput with compelling economics, a wide range of high performance materials from valued and trusted partners, industry leaders, and our machines can produce superior surface quality and accuracy. And with that, I'm going to be going to our next guest speaker.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, Richard, for for Trey to pitch in here. So Trey, again, thank you for joining, your support. I see 2 Origin Ones in the background there.
Did you guys see the platforms raised up earlier?
I did. It was super cool. So Trey, here you are, owner, operator, Express Dental Lab. You have a couple Origin Ones behind you. You have other 3D printing technologies. Just kind of educate us. What were you considering when you were looking at the Origin One? What gravitated you to the system? And kind of how's it transformed Express Dental? How does it complement the other technologies that you have there?
So, we started 3D printing here at the lab, much before the Origin One was available to us, and we had worked with other DLP or SLA printers. And kind of the problem that we ran into as we began to scale and see more of a need or the benefits of 3D printing models specifically for crown and bridge, we found that some of the smaller desktop printers just couldn't keep up, either from a production perspective, but from a failure rate. A lot of the other machines that we worked with, even though the print times were kind of long, the build platforms were a lot smaller. We saw a lot of failures, mainly I think due to adhesion with the tank and the below. So a lot of them use like hard rigid surfaces. or they use different types of plastics in their machines that just aren't very durable. So, we're trying to print, something like 200 crown and bridge models a day. We found it very difficult to keep up with the production with some of these other machines. We saw some relief in our model production going over to PolyJet, but the problem with the PolyJet was the costs were kind of high, and we find that there's other parts that we'd rather print with our PolyJet than just crown and bridge models. Stratasys with the Origin One really provided a great solution that kind of addressed some of the headaches that we were seeing. A larger build platform, so we could put more parts on the platform. We like the way that deal with adhesion during the printing process, so we don't see failures. The actual membrane in the tank, I think I have one down here, is like it's something that we replace every week. So we're always printing off a fresh surface. We're projecting through a fresh surface, so we don't deal with contaminants or distortions or damage on that platform, or that's obstructing the light or the curing through that membrane onto the build surface. And so we don't see the failures that we saw. And then finally, the resins that we use specifically from Stratasys, the resins are very, very affordable. So we're able to print model resins, and our model parts cost per part is very, very low just because of the DM200 in that product. So we have a high quality part that prints out quickly, has a very, very fine resolution, and we don't deal with downtime with our machines. We're having to reprint like what we saw with some of the other DLP and SLA printers that we were doing our models with. We've chosen here at the lab to use the Stratasys Origin Ones almost exclusively for our crown and bridge models for those reasons. It's a high production, high volume part that we're printing on a daily basis. It also allows us to have some redundancy by we have two of them, so if one goes down or for whatever reason we have some redundancy, but we really haven't had to deal with that, so we have kind of twice the output since we have the two machines. Also, if we ever get in a bind, it has validation with a lot of other resins, and we use a lot of the Keystone resins here at our lab. And so if we choose to print, if we need to have help printing splints or printing castables or whatever, we can use those on the Stratasys Origin One as well. And so I like the versatility of it. As I've kind of gotten older in the lab business, I find that it's nice to just have one machine for one resin, and so I like to kind of figure out what's good for what we're trying to produce, and then just kind of stick with the best solution. And we feel like the Origin One's really been great for our models, and so just the downtime of having to change out resins and stuff like that, despite having multiple tanks, it's just easier just to always be cranking out models with these two machines behind me.
Right. So
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so Trey, with your crown and bridge models, are you doing removable dies? Are you doing some implant models where analogs have to fit into their sockets there?
Yeah, I mean, we'll print master dies, removable dies. We do a lot of solid cast. We don't. A lot of what we're doing is we're printing models, and we'll go and we'll ditch in the software the die, so we have a crisp margin that we can see on the solid. And we like that because it's just another part to have to keep track of, a removable die, if it has movement in the model. Some of the software companies have come up with better solutions for designing and creating removable dies, but for us, we like the solids that have been ditched. But the Stratasys does provide our technicians with crisp margins. We're not really like building, we do a lot of monolithic restorations, lithium disilicate, zirconium restorations, or full gold crowns. And when we do metal restorations that we do want a metal finish, we'll print a master die to metal finish on, and then we'll go over to the master cast that's a solid to check our contacts, stuff like that. So the technicians, they've been very happy with the fit, the look, the feel, and we really feel like we're able to provide we use the models really just as a kind of a quality control check to make sure that the crown that we design, is going to the right patient, has the right fit, contacts are right. And so, that's, I used to be a big advocate for, model-free crowns when we're making 10 or 20 crowns a day. But when we're trying to produce, 100, 120, 150 restorations a day, it's kind of nice to have that kind of assurance that, hey, what we're making is going to the right place, going to the right person, has the right look and feel, and we're not just 100% dependent on if the mill milled it out correctly. And I think at the cost per part right now for our models, it really doesn't add that much extra cost to the process. And I think that if anything, it allows for a higher quality and a less remakes because we're able to check those products before they go out on a solid cast.
Yeah, no, I think these takeaways are amazing, right? So uptime, reliability, cost per part, all of these are just amazing things. And thanks for sharing, Trey. Appreciate it.
Yeah, do you have other questions or anything? Aaron, I got some other thoughts too, though.
No, the open forum, man. If you have some thoughts, feel free.
One thing that I like about the Origin One, I think there's some controls in it where I think it's not just like, hey, it prints faster, right? It just, the machine moves faster. But I think there's actual controls in it where it helps control, regulate temperature, humidity, stuff like that, so that we're able to have a quicker cure time, and so it processes the materials faster because it has more control of the environment and that it's being manufactured. One thing that was really intriguing to me is, hearing that Keystone used the Origin One to help validate or help develop materials that they're using. And that's something that's attractive to me as someone that's an end user that's just wanting to create one little part over and over. We're not looking to use a printer to develop something. We're looking at a printer, using a printer to create something day in, day out that we can sell. And so it's kind of cool that it actually has been proven by companies that are actually creating these resins for end users. The other thing that I find that I like about it is just the Stratasys company behind it. You guys spoke to that earlier about how they're kind of a leader in the market. I think that Stratasys, as far as support, service, training, they've been phenomenal. They've been great to work with for us. We really liked some of the services that they're offering with the other product offerings, especially in PolyJet. The DLP machines is something that's needed for as far as the resolution is concerned, and the affordability of the resin and volume. We can just crank out resin and we're not having to pump it. We don't have to worry about heads going bad or anything like that. I'm excited about the future availability for the printer to print other resins in the future. It seems like it's something that we can, like we had touched on earlier, that you can control with the user interface, some of the different parameters. And I think that they're always looking for opportunities to grow the portfolio of materials that may be important to some people. For us, we like our machines for what we're using it for, but it's definitely intriguing to know, hey, listen, if another resin comes out, it'll probably be able to be validated very quickly on the Origin One, and we could use that quickly, and we won't have to wait for it to be packaged in some kind of other manufacturer's proprietary packaging, so we can have it delivered to the printer in a certain container. Right. The big thing that I loved about it was the membrane that we replaced. I mean, that's something you kind of touched on, but the adhesion breaking away from the build platform is huge. We've worked with printers where you have to replace those tanks, every 2 weeks, and it gets real expensive because those tanks are expensive, and you're like, man, I have a pile of 20 of these tanks. Can't we get them refurbed or anything? There's no solution. It's nice that we can have that same reservoir that we're using over and over and over, and we're just replacing that membrane to keep it fresh every week. And so that's something I really, really wanted to hit on. That's another thing that was really, really important to me, was how can I make sure I have this thing up, and how can I reduce some of the costs with maintenance and other materials. So let me, the sitting jobs over the printer is very easy. These are touch screens on the printer, so we have a queue of the jobs that we want to print, and we can just hit print, select the print job we want, hit print. And I did want to pull one off and show you guys just what it looks like. Is that cool? You guys
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, it's a little tight squeeze, but.
And while you're doing that, I think to Trey's point of newer materials coming down the pipe, and Ira kind of dangled that carrot out in front of us earlier in the webinar. I know you guys are probably working on some new stuff. You had shared there'll be some new developments here.
Yeah, we have been working on our denture base for several years. We wanted to make sure we were putting something out that was high impact and had the right aesthetics and everything. And it took us a little bit longer than I would have liked, but it's better to get time to get it right. And so we're excited that we're going through our regulatory clearances on that now, along with several different tooth solutions, from denture to temporary crown and bridge to ultimately a permanent tooth solution. We're also looking forward to commercializing a sports guard resin in the
Nice.
hopefully next year. It's coming along quite nicely. So
Awesome.
we continue to work on stuff that we know that people are asking us for, and that we know are in high demand and good commercial products, and ultimately that will ultimately be good dental products.
Awesome.
Here's the build platform, with the parts, just to kind of give it a little bit, something to compare it to. These are a bunch of kind of larger quadrant models that we've done. The other thing that the guys like about it here, the technicians that work with the printers, they like how easy it is for the models to be removed from the platform. We don't see a bunch of parts breaking when we're trying to take it off. I don't know why it works so well, but it's just easy to come off. But there's an example. There's still some post-processing we have to do, but it's a pretty simple process, pretty straightforward compared to some of the other printers we have. And so really it isn't really a necessity that we use it for crown and bridge. It's something that we really like using it for crown and bridge models, ortho models, our denture models, just because speed, efficiency, accuracy, and uptime, and we don't have to deal with other failures. Failures just drive you nuts because you're like, man, I did it twice. It's like I only got time to do it once, and so
Time and
trying
money.
to avoid failures. Yeah, exactly. So that's a platform.
No, it's good to hear that, so the Achilles heel sometimes with those models, just because there's so much surface area that's contacting that build plate that you try to scrape it off and you break it, right? It's good to know that it's really easy to take off.
Yeah, it's nice that the Origin one has a higher green strength than a lot of the other machines that are out there. So, and that means that before the models are cured in post-secondary curing, then they're still strong. Where on a lot of, and if you've used SLA machines, and that's a good example of something that isn't like that, where you start to peel the parts off. And
one thing that we love about this printer, right? This job was like a 25-minute, 30-minute job, whatever it was, right? And we can run it over and over and over, and we can have a high throughput of stuff. But when we run some of our other printers, sometimes when we start some jobs, especially like on PolyJets, I mean, it's like a 12-hour job or a 14-hour job or 8-hour job, long jobs. Or some of our other printers, they're only certain materials are validated with just that printer, so we can't really use, to stop using that printer for something. They're typically full with resins that are just validated for that printer. So this is cool. Like if we have a rush case that comes in, or if we're in a bind, or you gotta do something quickly, you can easily switch out the materials, run that rush job or whatever, and then get back onto production. So it's an easy switch and change. And so we like being able to have these printers that run these quick, short jobs that we're not tied up for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and then all of a sudden, or 6 hours, and something comes in that, man, we wish we could put on the printer, but it's tied up. We just know, hey, in 20 minutes it can be over. We start a new job and work stuff in too. So from a rush perspective, it really helps to be able to have that flexibility.
So Trey, we have some questions popping in. One was, this one says for Trey, do you have a preference for models made via PolyJet like a J5 versus the Origin One for any specific applications, implant models, removable?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so we prefer the Stratasys for crown and bridge. We do like, so we like the Origin One for a lot of our crown and bridge, any kind of large model, denture models, ortho models, whatever, because the cost, the quickness. We do like the Stratasys J5 for parts that are really unique, and that's a PolyJet printer that we use. So things that have maybe like, for an example, I have an example right here. Let's grab one. So like here's a part. I don't know if my camera shows it very well, but this is like a jig for delivering a a surgical guide, like for bone reduction, and it has holes going this way, and it has holes going this way, and it's just a really weird shape. It's really kind of crazy looking shape. I don't know, like I feel like if I bring it too close to the camera, oh, there you go. So you can see it has some like crazy shapes, right? And that's that, and a lot of that has to be very exact. So we like PolyJet for printing things where we don't want to have support scarring or the potential for supports to deform or misshape the part, and we like it for printing like things with weird holes. So like some of our full arch like implant models that have a lot of holes, or some of like for our stackable guides where we have we have these osteotomy guides that stack onto a bone reduction guide, then we have a prosthetic that stacks onto that. We like the J5s for printing those kind of complicated parts with multiple holes going different angles, stuff like that. So here's another one with latches. So let's see if I can get it close. So you can see like we have holes here that fixate to the bone reduction guide, and then we have holes here for the osteotomies. And so that's we like the J5s for those kind of complicated shapes. I think that's a fair reason. Was that the question?
Yeah, and then I think there was a question for you, Ira. Someone posted, sorry, I've seen ceramic resin, so maybe like some type of nano ceramic resin. Would that be something that you were looking to develop in the future?
We are looking at some ceramics. They are challenging to print for a whole lot of reasons. But it's worth taking a look at, in our opinion, because if you can print a ceramic and you can have it approach what sort of a milled ceramic or a pressed ceramic is both looking like and performing like, then you've got a very good solution. So we have been looking at it, we have been playing with it, we've been talking to some other people in the space that are doing the same. It's challenging. I don't think there's a Keystone solution in 2023. But we're looking at it, and I think the biggest thing is you really probably are going to need particularly if you have something that's highly filled as a ceramic, you need the right printer because they're very heavy. You're going to need something that probably heats the vat so that the viscosity is manageable. So there's some real challenges to not only just solving the resin, but having it work with the right printing system. But I guess it's a long answer to yes, we are working on it.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Ira, do you guys have any of your resins that happen to be radio opaque? That's something people ask me about, printing radio, and we have a different workflow, I think, than maybe some people would just want to print it, but I didn't know if you happen to know that or not.
It's something we look at and we test. We're trying with our tooth material to make sure that it has some features that allow you to take x-rays through it. Sitting here today, I can't tell you that I've seen the recent test data to see how we're doing on that. But the answer is yes, we're paying attention to that. We know it's an important piece to the puzzle for the professionals.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is a new radio opaque material for the PolyJet, but it doesn't run on the J5, unfortunately. So that was fantastic. You guys are great. This is probably my favorite webinar I've ever done. So I want to talk about the software and P3 workflow very quickly. We just have a couple of minutes. It's the Origin One utilizes GrabCAD Print as its build preparation and slicing software presently. It is the proprietary slicing software that is used by all of the Stratasys machines. And so whether you're running PolyJet or you're running Origin One, you can run them both from this one application. It's a short and easy workflow. It's very good at orientating number models. It has an excellent ability to fix models if it has intersecting surfaces or inverted normals or anything like that. And then, like I said, it's a standardized workflow across a number of Stratasys technologies. And what's very exciting, presently you have to use a third-party software to generate support mechanisms if it's required by the geometry. And in Q1 of 2023, we will be generating auto support inside of GrabCAD. And then finally, I'll talk just real quick about the workflow. Once the parts are removed from the printer, there's just a very brief sonic IPA bath, and then we cure the parts in a validated curing unit.
So to that point,
Oh, yeah.
just real quick, Richard. So us at GoEngineer, we work with another company called Post Process Technologies. They're based out of Buffalo, New York, and I see Ira shaking his head because I know they're just like you partnered with Stratasys and Origin One to validate the resins to print. I think you're also working with them on validating the resins post print, right? So so just know
and good guys. I like
yeah,
them.
great
Yeah.
guys. So just know that we have a solution from Post Process Technologies. It eliminates IPA. IPA, you know, one, it's kind of dangerous. It's got a 50 or 60 degree flash point, right? So their solution is no IPA. It's a proprietary, they call it detergent. It's non-combustible, non-flammable, you know, very consistent, clean parts, especially parts that, you know, if Trey prints an implant model, he may have a technician going in there with a Q-tip or something to get into that small space, right? So just know that Keystone is working with post-process technologies, and I think probably real soon we'll have a green light that all of their resins are validated through their system. So just know that that is a solution that's coming down the pipe. And if you want any more information, I'd be happy to share it. But I did want to bring up that there is another way of cleaning that's safer, you know, 7 to 10 times longer longevity than your IPA, so you're not getting a saturation level as quickly, and more consistent, cleaner parts.
It's particularly good for high throughput labs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, so lastly, I just wanted to talk about some accessories that are upcoming. There's a Pro Aero extraction system, which you've seen on some of the other Stratasys products out there. It's an air purifier. There's the resin pour jig. I'm very excited for that because, you know, like Trey was saying, it's really easy to switch the vats on this machine and you just pop it out, but sometimes you have to empty the resin that's still in the vat back into the bottle, which is a nice thing about the Origin One because you can't do that with all DLP systems if they have a 2-part resin that's not on the table. So this allows you to pour that very easily. The printer stand seems like kind of a silly thing to have, but you need to have it sit somewhere. And so the size of the machine makes it so some people don't want it to have it on a table because it's too tall. So this is like a very ergonomic solution. And then finally, the tray cover that you can put on top of the tray that Trey is holding there. And so that way you can seal off the resin from the air around it, and that will help it stay clean, get it no dust or debris in there.
And the light to keep it from curing.
So what I like about their trays is that it's solid, so it's somewhat elevated off the surface. So if you set it down somewhere, you don't have to worry about scratching or messing up this membrane.
Yeah.
And then this, you can see where we replace that membrane every week here, and you can kind of see how it's kind of a thin, kind of sounds like a drum.
Yeah, it's a drum head almost.
Yeah. But that's kind of what the tanks look like, and they're kind of easy to hold and move and sit down and stuff like that.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for showing that. And so with that, it brings us to this slide, which I know Aaron's going to want to talk about.
Yeah, so if people just want to take a screenshot, we're recording this webinar anyway, so you can always pop back to the recording to have this. But this is just for an MBC certificate. Just has the information of the course for getting your CE credit. Awesome. Well, number one, I appreciate everybody. I know we're a little bit over the hour, but in closing, first, thank you for joining, spending our time with Richard, myself, Ira, and Trey. Trey and Ira, thank you guys for joining us and your support and sharing your experiences. One thing I do want to note is Stratasys and GoEngineer, we're running a pretty aggressive promotion now through the end of the year on an Origin One Dental system. So you're looking at $60,000 for the printer with a 2-year bumper warranty, which that's about a $25,000 savings. So if you want to take advantage, if you need that section 179, and you're looking at 3D printing, I would definitely honor the opportunity to speak with you. You can reach out, and we'll be following up with people that attended the webinar as well. So again, everybody, thank you so much. Trey, Ira, anything in closing before we sign off here?
I would just say it's a really good production printer. We see outstanding results with our materials in it. And it's a real pleasure to work with the Stratasys team, I have to say. They're a very professional organization. They've been around a long time. A lot of very smart people who understand the space well. They've got some good dental professionals like Judy Thomas and David Bolin, and just good people, easy to work with. And I'm really thankful for them inviting me here today. I saw Nav was on, and she's been fantastic and really kind to me. She offered to print me a heart model to give to my cardiologist after my heart attack, and very, very sweet, very touching. And that stuff matters when you're working with your partners. You tend to care about people who take an interest in you and, you know, how those things go. And so we've been very pleased with the relationship with Stratasys, and we're looking forward to doing a lot more with them.
Awesome. Trey?
It's the first DLP printer that I didn't want to throw away after 6 months of having. So, I mean, we love it.
Great.
It's great, and we're excited for what's to come from Keystone. We really love their materials. They've worked out really well for us and for our customers. We have great feedback, and so you know, we're excited for the future, and we're happy kind of where we're at now too. So no complaints.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the Thursday. Good upcoming weekend. Thank you.